Oh man. All right. Good morning, guys. Good morning. It's Tuesday. JMart's with me. Shea going up for the dunk last night, and Anthony Edwards now is alive as basketball is heading down the final stretch here in the NBA. You're starting to get a little bit more intensity. Game last night was ridiculous. So I want to start there. Timberwolves, they're down 24 points in the fourth quarter at Oklahoma City. They go on a run, a lot of it with Edwards on the bench. Then they get close enough, and it's like, all right, we'll bring him back in. Block Shea at the rim. Timberwolves win the game. Anything I should read into it, or just a random regular season game in February?
I think there is some concerns with Thunder's closing ability, which is confused. It doesn't make sense when you have a star like Shea that produces so much from the free throw line. You do feel like you are the kind of team that should be able to close games out, but missed a bunch of shots down the stretch. Timberwolves obviously have a lot of quality and like consistency with closing games out. They were pretty dangerous in the playoffs last year. Yeah, it does. I think more than anything, it just shows that the Wolves are a little better than the 7 seed, and the Thunder probably aren't this super dominant 1 seed like I thought, like a lot of other people do think. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is just a regular season game. But yeah, since as soon as you get past the All-Star break, every game matters a little more. Every game means a little more. And yeah, I think everyone I don't think you see Anthony Edwards going up and trying to block a guy if this is a random game in December. Like,
Are you friends? Are you friends? Are you a fan of Anthony Edwards? Do you enjoy his game?
oh, I love him. He went to UGA. I saw him in a Raising Cane's one time when I was in high school. So no, I love Anthony Edwards. I love the flair. I love the swagger. It reminds me a lot of like a young Kevin Durant. A lot of it's just like this like I don't care mentality. He's gonna look bad sometimes, gonna look really good, and I think he just doesn't care either way. And I really respect that. I think he's one of the few guys in the league that has this mentality that can make him the best player in the NBA.
Yeah. So how do you think the Timberwolves compare to last year? Because they made the decision. They went pretty far last year. They went as far as, it felt like they won their championship when they swept the Suns. That was really big for them. And then the Mavericks clipped them, and they had a shot, but Luka was a little bit better than Edwards down the stretch. Edwards even said afterwards his conditioning had to be better. So instead of like doubling down and running back the same team, they shipped out Karl Anthony Towns to bring in Julius Randle, and it clearly is a downgrade, and he doesn't really make that team better. Do you think that that'll change in the playoffs? This team have a chance to go further than they were in the playoffs, or do they need a different 2 or 3 guys around Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, I think if you check Julius Randle's numbers in the playoffs, basically his entire career, he is god awful. I like him as a player. I think he's fun to watch. He is an all NBA caliber guy. Once the playoffs come, I watched him against the Hawks one season absolutely disappear. I don't expect him to really be able to lead them to much. That being said, Karl Anthony Towns wasn't exactly anything spectacular last year in the playoffs. It really did feel like it was like an Anthony Edwards one-man show with a lot of really good defense around him. I think that if they're able to make it further this year, it'll be due to the bench guard play from guys like Terrence Shannon, Rob Dillingham, the rookies they have that came in and were incredibly effective in that Thunder game and for basically bringing them back into the game. So I think that second unit, they're a super deep team. I think that's what helps them, but I still struggle to see if Randall is really the guy that's going to like push them through because they do still need a secondary scorer that's really capable. I don't think Randall's that guy.
Yeah, I don't know why Conley still starts for them. I wonder if that changes by the time they get by the time they get to the playoffs. But my favorite player on their team is Alexander Walker. Plays great defense. He is, I mean, to me, what you're looking for here in the playoffs is you got to have guys that are going to commit to defense because talking about how great these scorers are, it's like, yeah, like there's a lot of great scorers, but there's only a handful of like really solid wing defenders. You got the best one in Atlanta, Dyson Daniels, just freaking menace. And that's what I see from Alexander Walker. It's just, um, he's just fantastic on defense. I thought it was the main reason why they were able to knock off the Suns last year. So yeah, big win for the Timberwolves. That's why I wanted to start with them. They scored 41 points on the road at the Thunder. I came away from that game doubling down on what I said to you last week about the Thunder. They can't rebound at the end of the game, and they play really hard. And in the regular season, that might account for like a 10-15 win difference. Bunch of young guys who haven't gotten paid. They play super hard. So I came away from that game thinking, yeah, the Thunder aren't going to get there. What about the Nuggets Lakers game from Saturday night? Again, random game in February or something there because Luka, I guess he's back. I think it's fairly obvious to anybody that's paying attention to the Luka Doncic situation that this is a win-win for Luka and the Lakers because he did get comfortable in Dallas. A lot of things that came out about him are true, but two things can be true. You're still a young kid and you can, become a man, and doing it in LA under LeBron. We saw it against the Nuggets. They just rolled them, like absolutely demolished them. Jokic literally had 7 shots. They just put him in the blender. What are your thoughts on that? Is that just the game
Yeah.
in February? Or?
Yeah, that's the one I will say is just a game in February because, simply put, Jokic won't be taking 7 shots in the playoffs. It's the big problem with Jokic is the reason a lot of people don't like to call him the MVP is that he does have these games where he refuses to shoot the ball, and we've all seen him take shots where he's fully contested, he still makes them, and some games he just doesn't shoot. That was just happened to be one of those games. It was a weird game for him to not do that. His team around him was shooting fine. Like I think Aaron Gordon had a pretty great game, and he's had actually a bunch of really good games back to back now. But no, I think once you get to the playoffs, once you get to the summer, Jokic is shooting the ball 15, 20 times if his team's losing. He's getting the ball. They're getting him open. He is the best player in the NBA. I get that like the Lakers did a lot defensively to shut him down, but simply put, if you've shot 7 times, you just haven't tried enough stuff on offense as the best player
Yeah,
on your team to get open.
they were double teaming, triple teaming, and that's the beauty about these elite players is once you show them something different. It's not that Jokic has never seen that, but he really wasn't ready for it. That was clear. They were really physical with him. They got up in him. Vanderbilt was very aggressive, and if the refs are going to let you bump and bump and bump, it's hard to get the ball inside. So that to me was eye opening to see how good Luka looked. What about the Warriors? There's 2 other teams I want to get to. Warriors are one of them. I don't know how I feel about it because I'm rooting against Jimmy Butler. I'm rooting against that, but it seems to be working. They are still small, but what you're feeling the Warriors as they're most likely going to get to a top 6 seed, whether it's the Rockets, Clippers, or Mavericks. It looks like the Warriors are going to get to the top 6 seed. If they do that and they keep playing like this, do you think they have a chance to go all the way?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of those teams that if they can just get into the playoffs, they're going to be able to hang with like legitimately anyone. I get that the center play is definitely very weak in a very center focused conference. Like they are going to have to somehow most likely beat a team like the Nuggets, the Rockets, or like you can even throw the Grizzlies in there because Edie's really tall. These are teams that have really good, really versatile centers, and they have right now. I think it's been maybe some Draymond 5. I know it's been a lot of small ball stuff. I think maybe like a Quinn Post or something like that, but they don't have an answer as center. I know Kevon Looney's been pretty good. But simply put, I mean, when you have guys like Jimmy Butler and Steph and you get them to the playoffs, I mean, they're going to elevate their play almost as instinctually. You look at Draymond Green, he will be more productive, albeit probably a little more aggressive, probably get himself in trouble. I think they're a team that is poised really well to do really good once they make the playoffs. The issue for them will just, of course, be getting themselves into a 7-game series and stuff.
It's all the matchups. I think the Thunder actually would prefer to face the Warriors. Both of those teams seem similar. Where you're lacking the size. I'm going back to old school basketball. I think you need the big guy. That's where I think this is going to be one in the West. That's why I still like Jokic. He had 19 assists yesterday. Some of these stat lines the next day are just insane. The level of play is unbelievable. I want to close it out on the West with the Suns. Like talk about just a miserable place to play basketball right this second. Durant, Beal, Booker, Budenholzer, and yet they're worse than they were last year. Do we get to a point where we just have to acknowledge Kevin Durant can't be the best player on the team, or do you look at it differently?
I think there's a lot of structural issues just around it. I think the main reason that this keeps happening to Durant is the mentality he has around getting to super teams and stuff. Like I look at that Brooklyn Nets team, and I think that you are looking at a team that if they had made the NBA Finals when they made the conference championship, they would have won that year. Like they were the best team outside of the Bucks that season. And I think you look at this team now and they're just structured horribly. I mean, Beal's contract can't be on the same team as a Booker and a Durant. Like you have no money left. And so you have bad role play. You're not drafting the best. I mean, Iguodala has been a decent player for a couple of seasons, and I like Ryan Dunn, but you're not getting a lot of offensive production out of your role players outside of
They
like
don't rebound.
stuff.
They literally they get no defensive rebounds.
Yeah, the defense is horrible. It's been bad all season. They're a team you can drop 140 on consistently. And yeah, Durant plays complacently. I mean, you can watch him play. There's a game a couple weeks ago down the stretch. He didn't shoot. He was, I think, 9 for 12 shooting and shot the ball one more time that game down the stretch, losing by 10. I don't care what the game script is. You're Kevin Durant. You got to know, like, this is the reason that he can't be, like you're saying, he's never been a true star. He's always been just probably the best role player ever. He doesn't really want to shoot when it comes down the stretch. It's a weird thing with him. They just as a team feel complacent. I think it is like a blow it up situation in Phoenix right now.
Yeah, they're completely a mess. I don't know if they're going to get in there. Wemby's out for the season. That's a huge. When we first did the pod, it was like, man, which one of these 12 teams fighting for 10? Now it's like, I guess the Kings and the Suns are going to fight for the 10th spot. And I don't know if it really matters because whoever wins that, it's going to go to Minnesota, LA, Golden State somewhere. So it doesn't feel super exciting. If you flip it over to the East, did you happen to notice the 76ers were at home last night against a tanking Chicago Bulls? Like the Bulls are trying to lose. They traded Zach LaVine for nothing. They're like, hey, can we please lose? And they're up by 50. They win 142 to 110. I just need to read you the starting fives of these games and tell me how these are possible.
I know that Bulls starting five. I think I know that team. I like that. I like the Bulls. I can't believe that they should be losing these games. This is not a good team. Like
the Sixers ran out Paul George and Maxey yesterday.
Yep.
Like they each played 30 minutes. They had Oubre out there, who last time I saw him in the playoffs, he's pretty good. Like not terrible. He would also start for the Bulls. They got the Yabusele guy from what country was he in where we played him? France, right? And then they got Quentin Grimes, who's, I don't know, they shouldn't be down by 50 points at home to Philadelphia. This is ridiculous. There was something really funny where, like, just being conscious of Philly sports fans. There was an article that came out the day after they won the Super Bowl where Embiid is like, yeah, I think my knees are done for the rest of my life. It's like, yeah, let's just drop that right after the Eagles win the Super Bowl to kind of forget the fact that the Sixers were supposed to win the Super Bowl. Like if you took a poll of Philadelphia fans before each season and said which team's more likely to win it, you're like, I don't know about this Eagles team. I think we're going to fire our coach and go with Belichick. And the Sixers are going to be amazing. They got Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid. Instead, it couldn't be any more of a disaster in Philadelphia. I just wanted to point that out, that if you're trying to bet on these games, you might want to just double check before you bet against the tanking teams and make sure they're not playing a team that's also just completely checked out, because the Bulls just ran up the score yesterday and Lonzo only played 8 minutes. Lonzo's got to be another thing. Lonzo's having a tough go with this, right? Younger brother here is star of the league.
His numbers, I've loved what I've seen from him. The Bulls might be the worst coach team in the NBA. I used to love Billy Donovan at Florida.
You're not a Billy Donovan guy?
The dude sucks. Look, we ran out a lineup a couple weeks ago that was Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu. It would have been Trey Jones starting, and I think it would have been Lonzo Ball. They ran 4 fucking guards out, and I think five.
Is that a Billy Donovan, or is that coming from up top? Because they definitely need a star over there. So they decided we'll trade LaVine, because when they traded LaVine, they could have been an 8 seed or 7 seed. They finally just decided we got to get one of these 3 or 4.
Well, the issue it's been they didn't use Matas Buzelis until midway through the season. He's been incredible since starting to play minutes. He's been hyper efficient, really solid. He was playing 6 minutes a game early in the season, and like you can't tell me that the front office in Chicago is talking to Billy Donovan saying, "Hey, no, that guy we just drafted 6th overall, let's rest him to start."
They drafted him 6.
He was top 10. Yeah.
Jesus. He looked good at the Rising Stars game. I'm like, I don't really recognize that guy.
No, yeah, it's because he just hasn't seen minutes. Billy Donovan, look, I loved him at Florida. I thought he was fun with the Thunder. The dude's, he's got to go. Like, it's like the Bulls. You ask Bulls fans right now, I think, they're so sick of being the 10th seed. They've been the 10th seed, I think, like 4 straight seasons at this point. Like, it's just got to end at a point.
It is kind of wild. The last 4 teams that will go to something else. The last 5 teams in the East are the Bulls, 100% trying to tank. The Nets, if there's a number higher than 100%, they're definitely trying to tank. They literally trade all their good players all the time.
Their win total going into the season was 18.5, I think. So
yeah, they're over that. The Raptors are confused because they traded for Brandon Ingram, but they still would like to lose. They're trying to go with the Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and then clear it all out, but they don't really know what they're doing because they got rid of Siakam. and basically got Brandon Ingram. They didn't want to pay. I think what's his face? Urgi, how do you say his name? The Raptors guy.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. He's doing
Yes.
like if you accomplish one thing in life and you just kind of let it, how long can I let this go? Somehow that Raptors winning the championship as the Warriors basically died in front of him, like Thompson and Durant. And he's just riding that. Like it's just gonna be I remember when the Knicks wouldn't trade like 2 first-round picks for him. Like that was the asking price. So the Raptors have no idea what they're doing. The Hornets literally are the perfect team to watch if you are just doing fantasy basketball and want to forget that real basketball exists, because LaMelo Ball does not play real basketball, plays fantasy basketball, which is fun if you're 12 years old and like that kind of stuff. And then you got the Wizards who have the worst. They're going on the worst decade. I'd have to go back and look at it, but ever since the Wall Beal peaked in like the second round of the NBA Eastern Conference, whatever, like that's
There's that one Russell Westbrook year where Russ
lost in the
way through.
But they lost in the first round in that year.
That's big for them, man. That's big for Washington.
God almighty. So the East is just a disaster. But I say all that because one of those teams is going to be the 10 seed. And your stupid Hawks are there. They don't know what they're doing. They're like, man, the rest of these teams make us look like we're competently run franchise.
They should be losing games. I mean, yeah, they should be tanking. I don't know. We might. I don't even know if we have our own first round pick. I'm going to be honest. I think the Spurs might have that pick. So. That's
fun. So there's a lot going. There, it's a hot mess. If you're looking for good basketball, if you're looking for entertaining basketball, and then we'll move on to college. I would imagine tonight will be one of the more exciting NBA regular season games. It's in LA. It's not in Dallas, and the Mavericks players aren't mad at Luka, so it's like a one-sided. I fucking hate you, and I'm going to score 1 million points tonight. But Luka's got to be in like pure fuck you mode. Like if there's a prop bets to bet, is there any way he does not destroy the Mavericks? I don't know. Maybe the Mavericks can also score. Like I'm not saying the Lakers 100% blow them out, but what is Luka going to do tonight against the Mavericks?
No, he's just going to shoot. Like, I mean, this is one of those games. Like, I think LeBron's going to be out. LeBron might not play this game. This might be a game that he just sits out, so he can just let Luka take 30 shots and just do whatever he wants. Because, like, yeah, this is his chance to go out there and score 70 points against his old team. He's the kind of guy that's probably going to go out there and do that. Yeah.
Do you think if the game, I know this is going to sound kind of funny because you can't base the whole trade off of this one factor, but I was thinking about because I looked at the schedule after I saw they played tonight, and they don't play. The Lakers don't go to Dallas anymore. Like they already went there. Do you think they still would have made the trade if Luka was going to go back to Dallas like a month later, or because the PR nightmare has been? I guess they forgot how many little kids there are that love sports. And if you're a little kid, you're going to love the favorite player on the team. And now you're losing families. They're refunding tickets. I wonder if they would have done the same thing if they knew that if the Mavericks were going to go to LA.
Dude, he probably still would have done it. Like, I think like this, the more I think about it, the more I think it's like a purely financial move by the Mavericks to clear up space. And then I do think they want to move to Vegas, and it's the boring answer, but it's probably the genuine answer is that they want to make a little money before they sell the team and move him to Vegas. And I think they were going to trade Luka no matter what. And I think they were probably going to try and do it in the offseason. And then they had a little Nico Harrison running around, just like talking to Rob Pelinka alone, not talking to anyone else, and somehow gets talked. Yeah, I think that trade would have happened. I think from the way it sounds, Nico Harrison was just going to get rid of him. But yeah.
That's the thing is, it's part of it's financial, and the other part is like when you're having one-on-one conversations that nobody sees, and you're in a position of power, and it feels like your employee kind of gives you the middle finger, which by all accounts feels like what's happened here, where Luka just kind of beat to his own drum, and a lot of people in upper management just kind of roll their eyes, let it go when it's your number one employee, your number one salesperson. You know, I imagine the number one, trader at Goldman Sachs has a little bit more room than somebody else. And yeah, you want to take that approach, it's going to have a hard time signing free agents. I don't know. I still think in a basketball vacuum, I would have done it, knowing everything I know. But the way the fans reacted, I don't know. I don't live there. I guess underestimated. Maybe you should have had some more bad press come out. Like it's like a political strategy is like test some things out before we trade them. Like, man, Luka did this, Luka did that. Turn the fans against them. That didn't happen. Luka tonight.
It's advice to anyone in life. Get a second opinion. Just talk to someone else. Don't just listen to the dude you're dealing with. Ask someone else for advice first because, oh my god, you shouldn't just talk to one dude and think he's your friend. He is not your friend in this moment.
The Palinka character. Yeah, Palinka did. Yeah, Palinka saved his job. Palinka does what Palinka is going to get a book written about him about how to save your job and always make yourself look good. He just kind of navigates every crisis, and now nothing's his fault. If Luka's great, he's a genius. If Luka sucks, it's not his fault. Everybody would have made the trade. So, all right, we'll do Luka more. Plenty of stuff to talk about with the NBA as we head down the stretch. Want to transition to college basketball, leading with. I'll start with Texas Tech. Two of their starters, it's not an excuse, it just is what it is. The line changed at the very end. Two of the starters for Texas Tech, when I did a write up, ended up not playing. Still wouldn't have covered. I saw it go all the way up to 4.5. I think it settled at 3.5. Houston surprised me. Did you see any of the game last night?
I didn't, but I was just checking the stats from it. It looks like
Dude, it was
kind of game. Like they
Well, I was gonna say Crier didn't. My logic, I hate one of the things I hate. I'd rather just be wrong about the game. I don't want to be right about the game and then get the game wrong. And I was like, man, the Houston's just not gonna be able to score because Crier it's a one man show. Felt like he was tired from Saturday. It's a rowdy environment. I don't know. Just everything pointed to a dud from him. I get a dud. Tell me he scores 5 points, and yet the other character goes off. Houston plays this ISO one-on-one ball, and I just didn't think they had enough guys. They get it done yesterday, so that was a big win for Houston.
Oh, yeah, I think what ends up winning it truly for them is just Texas Tech running a six-man rotation, getting forced to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, you're playing a team as physical as Houston, coached so physically. That's not ever gonna work. You're always gonna lose that. Like, it's brutal trying to run six against them.
And I know the two guys weren't there, but I still would have made the bet. So whatever. I would have been happy to take the 4.5 points and still do it, and they couldn't do
They
it.
shot horribly from three. Holy shit.
Well, that's the thing is Houston locks you down, and you made a great point because if you only have six guys, it's just not going to work out. Houston will bury you. Michigan and Nebraska tried to send basketball backwards yesterday, where they went 49-46. Michigan, I give Michigan credit on this. That was a really tough loss to Michigan State over the way, like really tough. And yeah, it's kind of a dud of a game, right? Like you have that home game, you're playing Michigan State, you're up by 4 at halftime. It's Friday night, and then Michigan State, we're gonna have to do like a deep dive into what the fuck their defense is doing in the second half because I'm watching it, but it's incredible. So then, yeah, Michigan heads to Nebraska yesterday. They don't want to beat it. It's a tough game, right? So Michigan ends up getting that game, big game for them, and it really leads into from a Maryland perspective, like it's gonna be awesome here down the stretch because Maryland gets a shot at Michigan and Michigan State. But I wanted to kind of move on to today because a handful of the top teams are on the road, and this happens all the time down the stretch. Now, new people that haven't been betting are betting, and they're trying to find some easy money. And it's like, all right, Duke against Miami, Miami sucks. Florida against Georgia, Georgia sucks. Tennessee against LSU. I don't know if LSU sucks, but they're not the greatest team. Out of those three teams right there, they're on the road. Any of them slip up? Is Georgia? I mean, I know you're down on Georgia. Miami's pretty much cooked. I don't know how Duke or Florida would lose, but I can't stand Tennessee's team. I got them wrong the other night against A&M. I like LSU here. Can you make an argument for LSU to knock off Tennessee?
It's a tough one just because I've seen Tennessee play. They're a pretty veteran team. Even again at this point, 22-5, you check the losses, they don't screw up that often. They lose against teams that they're really supposed to lose to. I know they have slip ups that every team does. This year they've been a little more inconsistent, but yeah, you go back through time. I mean, if you can call Vandy a slip up, but Vandy's been pretty effective at winning games, and that's in conference, so it's a rivalry. But outside of that, in conference, I mean, what they've lost Florida, Kentucky twice, and Auburn. Like that's a pretty good, pretty solid resume. I have a hard time seeing LSU taking them down. Outside of Vandy, it's been the top of the top. Outside of and Kentucky, it would be tough. I lean towards Georgia. I'm biased, but
Will there be a nice crowd tonight? What's the vibe here?
it'll sell out or it'll get pretty packed out. This is kind of must win for Georgia in a weird way. Georgia ends the stretch with South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. To only get one of those on the road, I think, is South Carolina. So they have a pretty favorable way to end the season. They win this game to start it off and then win out. the conference tournament doesn't matter.
They tried to turn the Auburn game into a football game. I don't know if it would work this year, the way the football team played in the fucking trenches. Gosh darn it, still not over that Notre Dame game. But yeah, they tried to fight Auburn. They showed a little bit of life.
No, and the issue for Georgia has just been second half adjustments all season. They get out adjusted, they get out coached. It's been disgusting to watch. I went back 3 games. They've been outscored, I think it was 48 points in the last 3 games in just the second half. Can't happen. Just can't happen. But who knows? Anything's possible. It is still a rivalry game. Again, Florida doesn't really lose to anyone, but if there were to be a game they were to drop in conference that they shouldn't, it would be on the road against Georgia.
Where are you at with Duke? You told me, I know you're an Illinois fan. I talked about this yesterday. That's the most impressive win I've seen. Is it as impressive to you what Duke did to Illinois, or did Illinois, what a few different teams? Because it was 110-67. It's at the Garden. My question is, could other teams have done what Duke did to Illinois? Like, is Illinois that bad, or is that a masterful performance by Duke?
Illinois shot 2 for 26 from 3 that game, which won't happen a lot, and ultimately just isn't all defense. It's just bad shooting. But what I did find really impressive about Duke is that they had, 7 guys score 10-plus points. I mean, that's ridiculous versatility all throughout the lineup. That's just dangerous. That's really scary. You have Cooper Flagg end up being what? I mean, he was the top scorer, second highest scorer, but like passed the ball pretty well, was pretty
He is so – I hate how good he is. Like, it was really easy to root against J.J. Redick. No, I'm dating myself now. Steve Wojciechowski, Trajan Langdon. I hate those motherfuckers. They're the typical, like, shooting these 3 – like, Flagg's got, like, a dog inside of him. I can't help but fucking like him. I hate that I like him. I fell basically for him when he almost beat the Dream Team in practice last year. Yeah. Remember in the summer? He was, like, the best player on the court. He makes every pass. I don't know. I said this the other day. Duke to me has the less volatility. To me, they're going to the Final Four, and I don't know. I don't know who's knocking them off. I need a really physical team. Like
Houston can get them. Houston could get him. I hate the matchup of Cooper Flagg going against a Houston wing. I think Houston's one that could kind of stun him a little. Auburn would play dirty, so like obviously they'd be able to do well, but those 2 teams won't meet each other until most likely the Natty. It would have to be a team that can come out, is willing to play super physical on them, arguably dirty and stuff. Like that's something I could see Creighton coming out and pulling something like that. It's they're gonna have to lose it themselves because I look at it now, looking towards the tournament. Because I don't love Auburn. I think Duke and Florida are probably the 2 teams that once you get to the tournament, those are dangerous teams. Like they're just really, really good.
So I want to finish up with the UConn-St. John's matchup and where we're at with both teams. Give you my thoughts first on UConn. I saw a flash there in the second half that made me think that they're going to go on another run. I don't know if they get all the way through, but Diarra, the point guard, I love point guards that are built like bowling balls in college because I'm like, this guy can never play in the NBA. He's just like too short. And he's like not super quick, but he's so strong that if he gets that shoulder into you, I love him, and I love the McNeely guy. He's the freshman. I think he's only going to get better. They're down like 14, 15 points with 3 minutes left, and he's like screaming the way Hurley's screaming, I'm not quitting. The UConn team, I'm not writing them off. So I'm on the record. I really like this team. Hurley's a jackass. This is what happens, I guess. You get a little bit of fame, and he's really showed himself to be a jackass this year, and I think it's hurt the team. But I wonder if he'll be humbled and they'll be the underdog and be able to kind of right the ship there in the tournament. So I like UConn. I love St. John's. I don't know how much you've seen of Rick Pitino's. You would think we're in the military, the way he's yelling at these kids. I don't know how many other coaches can get away with it. I love it. The only way.
He's probably only getting away with it too because of St. John's. Like it's like this is one of the few schools you could go to and do this at too.
And all the guys he brought in are transfers. Like at the end of the day, the reason why Pitino wins. It's the reason why a lot of these coaches win. It's the consistency. I've coached now for long enough, granted not the college level, but the high school level. The kids, if they don't believe what you're saying, you're just fucked. Like you start seeing the eyes wander. You're like, motherfucker, it's over. Like I've lost them. And if you lose one kid, not the end of the world. But you start to lose the team, and it's like, Pitino those guys play so hard and they do all the right things. And you made a good point. Like if you go to St. John's, there's a religious bent to it. So you're getting a different type of man. You're getting a man that believes in discipline, and it's refreshing. I love what he's doing. I don't know how great the team is, to be honest. Like as I watch them, they're so physical that they seem to overpower a lot of teams. I Their shot making. They make a lot of tough shots. If they played UConn again tomorrow, I'd take UConn. Just thought they made a lot of tough shots. Where are you at with St. John's? What's their ceiling?
Yeah, they're a weird team because they basically stopped losing games. But Georgia beat them, which is another really unique thing that I think does show some coaching issues because Georgia's beating you. It means you didn't out adjust their coach, which means you're not really adjusting too much. Yeah, I don't. Again, the physical teams are fun and they can beat anyone, but the physical teams don't win the national tournament. Like that's just not what happens.
Is
Uh,
RJ Lewis good enough, their guard, to be the best player on a national championship team?
Probably not. He's confident enough, but I don't think that he is. That's their main issue is that you still need a star at the end of the day. You still need a freak that terrifies everyone. Um
Is that what Michigan? Well, that leads me to the next one. Is that, and I want to finish with Michigan State because I said we could do a whole pod on them, but I want to give them their due here at the end. Is Michigan State have the same problem as St. John's? Because I see them as similar teams. Does Michigan State plays a defense that you know what? This would be a good little point to describe Michigan State. The best way to play defense, just from the very beginning, the most simple thing to do is just deny the ball. Like Michigan State makes you work so hard to get the offense rolling that to me is their key, is the ball pressure. And it just is like, man, we finally get to run our offense, and there's 13 seconds left on the play clock. What they did to Michigan it was really impressive. What they did to Purdue, but what they did to Michigan on the road in the second half, I just
it's humiliating. It was legitimately they did it to Illinois too. It's almost like they're tiring you out. It's like you're playing against a run offense where like they have energy for days, and that's what I think does separate them from St. John's is that their whole thing is defense. They don't really scoring the ball is secondary to them. It's not important, and that's really unique in modern basketball to have a team that's full identity is simply we're not going to let you score. And that's Izzo's whole thing, and he's gotten the team to fully embrace it. They're terrifying. It's like they're just a team that it feels like every game they play, they take it game by game, and they aren't thinking forward at all. They're literally thinking about the next minute, and that's it.
I can't wait to see what they try to do to Maryland, because Maryland, you make the argument, especially lately, who's got a better starting five from just an offense that like all five guys can score and they can, dare I say, create their own shots. Like Rice has been a revelation for Maryland. He's able to, like I said, one or two dribbles and get his own shot. That stuff is not going to work against Michigan State. This has got to be it'll be a Derek Queen coming out party because he's only been tested so many times. Because if you're an NBA big guy, right? Like there's only so many guys that can bang with you. Michigan State's got guys. They're definitely going to throw at them. Can't wait for that game. It's probably going to be like a pick'em spread. That game's on. Is that Thursday or tomorrow? I think it's Thursday.
But they got tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Good.
Yeah, and they have it. They have the spread out yet.
Probably pick'emish. I don't. Sometimes the account I use, I tend to if I pull it up on DraftKings, I'd find it. But while you're looking at it, yeah, Maryland is putting themselves in a position where getting that double bye. Michigan State looks like they'll be able to sneak one. Michigan looks like they'll get it, and then it's up for grabs. Purdue's in there, Wisconsin's in there, UCLA's in there. So I can't wait to watch Maryland against Michigan State. But yeah, if you're trying to handicap these games moving forward, college basketball, I mentioned it yesterday, the volatility is unbelievable. So at least try to find a team or two that you like.
Yeah, I mean, watch Purdue just lost to Indiana by 15 points. Like that just shouldn't happen.
It is. It's hard enough to bet on professional sports as it is. When you start betting on college sports and you try to figure out the motivation, the traveling, I felt really good about Texas Tech yesterday, and it just didn't come through. So
they don't get a middle break. There's no break in the college season. So if you're on a top team, you're already locked up for a good position. You're tired. Like it's like you're burnt. Like they're playing a lot more now than they were early in the season. You'll see early in the season it'll be like one game every 10 days. Right now they're racking up 2-3 a week. they're tired. They're gassed. A lot of kids are going to check out a little bit. I don't blame them. Yeah, it's
That's
again.
what worries. Well, I'll say that's what worries me a little bit about Maryland is they peaked. Are they peaking or have they peaked? Because the past 5 or 6 games they've looked great, but they're not using their bench very much. And it'll be interesting because Izzo will go to the bench right away tomorrow. He will. He'll believe in it.
Yeah.
And
There
I think
was
Willard,
so deep.
and Willard is he hasn't won yet. And it's like I really want to win this year. Like this is my team. I don't know if I want to. I feel. I mean, as a coach, you feel that way. You're like, I want to give this guy a break, but I don't know if I can survive 3 minutes without him. And those usually aren't the championship teams. But we shall see. Appreciate catching up with you. A lot of basketball stuff. I'm going to do a pod tomorrow on this Ravens press conference. I'll get your thoughts on it real quick, and then I'll let you run. But if you were, I'll leave it. I'll ask the open-ended question. So instead of framing how I think about it, what would you do if you were in charge of the Ravens vis-a-vis Justin Tucker?
You can let him go. I mean, legitimately, like I know it happened a long time ago, but it's your kicker. You can replace your kicker. It's a weird situation. You kind of I don't know. It's really tough, genuinely. Like it's like cuz on one hand, he did the weird shit. Like it's weird stuff that he just more likely than not did. Like it's like you don't get accused of this many things. You don't have like official sworn statements coming out of you doing this stuff. But it happened 10 years ago and there hasn't been a report that has been I think past like 2017, maybe even 2016. I think they're all from back then. It's a tough position to be in because you could prove that's 10 years worth of rehabilitation on just in front of all of us, but he still did a bad thing. And he's still probably the best kicker of all time. So I think you saw a rough season from him last year. I think if you wanted to get rid of him, I wouldn't blame you as an organization. But at the same time, if you want to keep him, it's hard to blame them for doing that either. You're just kind of in a lose-lose. You're going to get criticized no matter what you do in this situation. Whatever you pick to do, just stand by it. Don't be weird about it. Just pick either cut him or keep him, and fully support him or fully cast him aside. That's really all you have to do. Yeah.
I wanted to wait for as much information as possible because it's a super sensitive issue. And the Ravens haven't made a comment yet. And I was like, man, I really want to hear just something. I don't know if I'm going to get anything today, but we'll find out. But DeCosta and Harbaugh are going to speak to the media at the Combine, I believe at 11. I imagine the first question, the second question, maybe all the questions will be around Tucker. And the complicated part, and I'll give my thoughts on it tomorrow, is there's a lot of money to be made when he retires, or there was a lot of money to be made when he retires. And that's the part that makes it super complicated from a business standpoint, because if you release him, there's no more monetizing the Justin Tucker name in Baltimore. And there's a lot of money to be made. That's why he does so many things in the community. But yeah, I'll share all my thoughts tomorrow. If you are interested in what the Ravens are planning draft-wise, you'll probably get some stuff out of the Combine as well. DeCosta's I always enjoy listening to him talk about the draft and this, that, and the third. He's probably the best. Howie Roseman's got a nice argument, but DeCosta's been doing it for a while. So
you got him going O-line? You think it's going to be an O-line draft, try and replenish? Or
Yeah, well, I always want to draft. I think after what the Eagles just did, you may as well just draft offensive linemen and defensive linemen. I mean, you watch college football, there's a gazillion receivers, a gazillion running backs. If you have Lamar and Derrick Henry, we don't need to think like that. They just drafted the corner in the first round, Wiggins, last year.
O-line round one, then pick up a wide receiver later. I think it's such a deep class, you won't miss much.
And you don't really need the receiver. I mean, Lamar took Willie Snead. Who the fuck did we have that year? Willie Snead, Hollywood Brown. Willie Snead. I love me some.
Evan Duvernay too, right? It wasn't Duvernay. Yeah.
You just need non-diva wide receivers. We got Flowers for another year, and he has to be on good behavior until he gets paid. So, I'm curious to see how things play out with the Ravens, and I do think it's like not a cop-out to not talk about it, but to some degree, it's like, you should have an opinion if you want to do the research on it and have a stronger opinion. And that's what I plan on doing tomorrow. So, all right, I'll let you run. Luke is playing tonight. A lot of good college basketball action, and then Maryland tomorrow. I'll see you next week. And yeah, not your fault with LaMelo. It'd be nice if the Hornets didn't lose by 50. Then maybe he would actually play.
Yeah, dude. Also, like he was on pace.
How
And
do the Hornets are so bad?
dude, yeah, because like, well, I look at that fucking team. I'm like, who else is gonna take shots? And Melo looks at it and says, "You know what? I want Miles Bridges shooting more than me." And it's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Come on.
Oh, I think the trip to Sacramento, he didn't have the juice. I guess who knows.
I think he's fully checked out. I think he's done. He's on to next season already. I think
Pretty much. All right, man. Well, I'll see you next week. We'll have bets out later today. Hope everybody has a good day. And cool. See you, man.
I see you.